So now let's go over the calendars that I've put up online for you. And again, if you're in the pretty much any of our 2100 website listings, you'll find them under the 2100 SIL and CAL. First, just a quick overview. We can click on there, let that open up. And I've set this out in terms of weeks here. So this is each week of the semester. The more detailed one is a daily calendar, but this is just for a quick reference. If you want to say, okay, what are we doing this week? We're beginning the Hero with a Thousand Faces at the end of this first week. We're finishing that up in the second week. We go on to Pan's Labyrinth and finish that up in the fourth week, then Avatar in the next weeks, and so on. So now you see we have, first of all, the Black Panther graphic novels in the week here, Black Panther the film, and then we draw this all together in different conversations and activities, and then you have your first paper, which I'm calling a synthesis paper, due just before spring break. So this is basically your midterm. Now there are a lot of other activities that aren't here. I'm just going by title of the works we're dealing with. You have spring break, then we come back, and since you've been away on spring break, I won't have reading due over that time, but you will start watching The Matrix, the first Matrix movie, when you come back. During the second week after the break, we will be reading the second half of Hero with a Thousand Faces. You'll see why I'm breaking it up by the time we get to that point. The first half dealing with the hero's journey is the way we'll be focusing on the text in the first half of the class, and in a much larger kind of cosmic perspective, all of that will open up in the second half of the book, and that'll be especially important as we take a look at the Matrix movies. We then go on to Neuromancer, William Gibson's novel that pretty much was the major influence on the Matrix movies, which is one reason I'm using it. And then the other two main Matrix movies, and then Matrix 4 is just a general catch-all term for the Animatrix and some of the other feature films that are in the Ultimate Matrix collection. In this last week here, we'll be doing the digital projects. You'll be presenting those online, and you'll be doing your final paper preparation, which is going to be your final, basically, which you'll be doing in the finals week here. And I've just gone to May 1st, the middle of the week, due at 5 p.m. So there's the short overview, and this is just a place for you to come and have a quick look, okay, especially as you're leaving for spring break. So, oh yeah, I should bring Matrix with me again to look over some of that material. I mean, not Matrix, Hero with a Thousand Faces. You might or might not do that, but at least you have a quick view this way. Now down here, as well as up here, you have the link to the detailed version. So let's go there. And first of all, I'll point out that this is not complete, and is deliberately not complete because I want to give us a chance to get going as the weeks begin. I've got quite a bit in detail set up here, but I want to leave things open because once we sort of get into a rhythm, things might go a little differently than I imagine up front, and I might come up with other ideas that I think will be important. You might come up with other ideas, and so on. So you will see I've got the first half of the semester day by day laid out here. Spring break, again, here's the paper, which is due Now this says Friday, the day before spring break. Obviously, if you're leaving Wednesday afternoon and trying to cut out of town before then, you're going to have this handed in one way or the other on that Friday. And generally speaking, it's not a good idea to leave town early because you usually have a lot of things to wrap up. But just keep this deadline in mind. And then you'll see the second half is really only an expanded version of the brief calendar that we just took a look at, because again, I want to see how things unfold in our first few weeks. So just to make sure we're on the same page, so to speak, here right now, you're actually watching the introductory course video right at this moment. You're watching the videos for setting up the blog, and give yourself a lot of time to work through this information so that your blog will be set up by Wednesday. That's only a couple days. Now, some of you might have some difficulty with this, but basically I'm pushing for Wednesday just to make sure that we are all have that set up, because really a lot of your work will take place in the blog, and if you don't get it going soon enough, you're going to fall really far behind and start, that'll affect your grade as well as, possibly your ability to stay going with the class. So go ahead and get started with the blog, and then on Wednesday, submit your first blog entry telling us something about yourself and your ideas regarding our class. I would like some, something meaningful from you in here. I don't have a specific idea of what that might be, but the initial practical thing is just that you get in, you actually go through the process, you have the blog set up, and you post something so that you know what is going to be happening. And then in the next week, you will have your first kind of graded blog entry, which will be on Hero with 1,000 Faces. And by graded, that's mostly, do I have a sense? It isn't a grade in the sense of A, B, C, but more like pass, fail. Did you do it? Did you not do it? Did you take it seriously, or did you just kind of blow it off and just write a couple sentences? So I'll give more details as we go on about that. And also, I've got the pages on what I expect on the blog in those links. So this is basically where you need to keep coming back to make sure you're on track and know what the assignments are. Now, as you'll see, once we get into this week, things start to get a little less detailed. This is still pretty good up through February 2nd, and actually, now that I look at it, until we get to Black Panther, things are pretty well laid out. I will probably start adding a few other things here, because one of my goals is to have us do some online video interaction, some of it live and some of it recorded, and I'll make that clear as we go along. But again, I want us to kind of get into the swing of things so that I can see best how that will fit in. So here's the more detailed calendar, and I will leave that at that.